It was the summer of 2013. I just narrowly made it through my first year of high school. Robin Thicke was a thing for some reason. Everyone was wondering what exactly was the sound of a fox, and everywhere you looked, there was someone doing a stupid dance that I never understood what exactly made it so funny. So I don't look back into that year with a very positive attitude. I hated high school, just like any teenager. Popular music sucked ass, even to this day. But there was a glimmer of hope. Caught in the eye of this dark storm, there was something lighting a beacon of hope. Something that was making me put up with all the crap around me. If I could only make it to the September 13 to see it happening. And just like anything in this life, the higher the expectations, the harder the fall. Hey guys, so last year I made a video pointing 50 things wrong with Total Drama All-Stars, and it since has reached 10,000 views, and I'm like, thank you very much, thank you. But the thing is, ever since I've done that video, I started listing 50 problems with Total Drama Island and Action and World Tour. Revenge of the Island is coming, I promise. The more I've done those videos, the more problems I found with Total Drama All-Stars. It's ludicrous, I know. So to celebrate 6 years that Total Drama All-Stars was released, let's rub even more salt in the wound and dig really into this. What exactly went wrong with Total Drama All-Stars? Later down the line, I will say how I would change it and even see if we can find any positive things about it. We'll save the good stuff for later, but for now I just need to get this out of my chest.
Part 1. The timing of its creation.
Before seeing Total Drama as a cartoon, I think that Total Drama should be seen as a spoof of reality television, and at the timing of its release, a lot of reality television series had already broadcasted a lot of All-Stars editions. Like America's Next Top Model, Survivor, Road Rules. The only reality show that didn't get this treatment was The Biggest Loser, as far as I can recall. But now that they are all getting back the weight, an All-Star season doesn't sound that ridiculous. Hey, I've seen worse things on TV. I assume that one day the producers were at a meeting and thought, hey, why don't we make a season based on these All-Star seasons nowadays? We can mix contestants from previous generations and it would be awesome. Yeah. I think we're having lunch. Yeah, let's have risotto for lunch. That's not a good idea. Sure, this does sound like a good idea in theory, but in the long run, the truth is, this idea is set up for failure. Mixing Total Drama characters from all generations up until that point is problematic for the lack of character development that the Revenge of the Island cast had, in contrast with the original cast. Given that the network ordered 26 episodes like the original format, it seemed only natural to make this a longer season with the purpose of having more time to expand the characters created in the second generation cast. Even if it was justifiable doing another cast of characters later down the line, I think the prioritization should have been that season and later do the All-Star season. I thoroughly believe that if Pacquiao Island had come first, we would have a much better constructed season of All-Stars and a lot of stronger relations. Maybe the 6 characters that matter from every gen, have them on teams of 6? I can totally see it now. The All-Star season could be announced after the winner of Pacquiao Island was announced to comfort the runner-up. But no, they went with the worst way they could go, and instead they decided to work with the original cast as fast as possible because they thought that they could not sustain the Total Drama franchise for much longer if they didn't bring back what the core fans enjoyed. This problem will give birth to a bigger dilemma with this season.
Part 2. The characters.
One of the things that stands out the most on the first view of this season was the character selection. They already had their hands tied when making this selection because A, they had to pick a very limited number of characters from the original cast. So that rounds up the number to only 7 of the 22 beloved characters. More than half of these had already been finalists. In reality television, contestants might make it to the final challenge for a second time, but here that would sound repetitive from a narrative standpoint. I mean, who wants to see Duncan win again? So from the original cast, we are left with only 3 characters that can potentially win, but we know that doesn't happen. And B, they had to pick from a cast that had around a dozen episodes to be established. Some of them were admittedly not very fun and had their plotlines finished by the time Revenge of the Island came to an end. Case in point, Sam. Dawn and Brick had very hero-esque personalities and unfinished business, and could have easily replaced the roles of, I don't know, Sierra and Sam as quote-unquote heroes. Bringing me to my next point regarding the characters. The main theme of this season was heroes and villains. The drama from the previous seasons came from the fact that every team had good characters and rotten characters mixed together. This stirred up drama and gave a chance to expose the villain as a threat and the hero as a, well, hero. And the ones that didn't follow this formula usually would struggle and fall behind and to some extent outright be eliminated. But in this season, having the villains crammed in one team and having only heroes or goodies crammed in the other was a very bad decision. I'm willing to bet that the reason why Mal was created was because they couldn't find a sustainable villain for this season. All the villains had played their cards, and having the same plots repeated would be extremely monotonous. This character is also a reason why this season flopped so badly. Imagine a character that has no redeeming qualities, it's completely unrelatable, and it's shallow as a puddle. In fact, as I'm writing this script, it just dawned on me. The character Mal would fit right in perfectly with the cast of Pakiteo Island. It wouldn't have made it a better season, but at least it would give it a clearer season villain instead of Scarlet, Max, Sugar, I think. But back to All-Star. There are a lot of missed opportunities here too. For example, I don't think that there was ever a moment that a villain taunted a hero by saying, "Heh heh heh, good guys do finish last." Instead, we have to see Cameron wondering if he's evil, or brute forcing Duncan's character and come up with the premise that Duncan is a softie, or even Gwen moaning about how she's not a villain. That's another thing. Gwen. Not only she's one of the characters we know that aren't going to win, but Gwen has lost that edgy I don't give a crap personality that she used to have. Back in World Tour, she openly stated that she kissed Courtney's boyfriend, yet here she's defending that she didn't do it, as if we were meant to believe that. And also circling back to Season 3, Gwen wanted to eliminate Courtney, and all of a sudden in All Stars we see her crying, all because Courtney is not giving her any space to approach. Finally, and this is a personal one, but have you noticed that before, the friendship relations in this show had some warmth and reality to them, like Courtney and Bridget or Gwen and Lashana? We felt good seeing them together. But with All Stars, there is barely any sort of interaction. It's like no one has friends here, and the ones that are supposed to be passed on as best friends are treated like two cartoon characters from Saturday morning cartoons. And yes, I'm talking about these two. Even if I was happy seeing them back together, their relations were shallow to the point that one says, "Oh no, this is becoming way too cartoony." But hey, I take a Saturday morning cartoon over Sunday Muddy Sunday any day. My god, I hate this episode. So in the end, this reflects that the writers made little to no search with the source material whatsoever, and that is even more evident when you see that this season starts off with lots of references to previous challenges, and by the end there is absolutely no relation to them. This season is compared to that feeling you sometimes have when you start a project. At first you are filled with pep, but as the ending is coming, you just want to do it, and with no attention to detail, so you can go home and relax. That's the feeling I get with All Stars. So with all that said, I believe that through all the mess that I listed, I think there are some good things that would make this a passable season. I analyzed all the flaws of this season and came up with
Part 3. How would I change Total Drama All Stars?
Before we begin, I think we should settle some rules. First, Mal is gone. I will not include him here because I believe he was a mistake. Secondly, although I prefer the 26 episode format with more characters to work, I believe that I should work with what the network allowed the producers to work. Thirdly, the challenges will all be the same. I do believe that to some minor degree, all the challenges in this season do reference challenges from previous seasons, except Sunday Muddy Sunday and the final episode, though that episode is just pure shit. Also, we will be going through every episode and counting down any switches I would do. Okay, so this is how I would change Total Drama All Stars. Episode 1. For episode 1, I would change very little. It's one of the best written episodes of this season. The challenge is simple and well referenced and was a great introduction to the season. I would move Duncan's sudden interest with Courtney expressed in Mood Madness over here, and that would start affecting Gwen, and I would eliminate Cameron. Just watch the original episode. Cameron did absolutely nothing in the challenge. He already won the $1 million, he wasn't going to win, and given that Mal is out of the picture, Cameron's presence in this season is not justified. Episode 2. Nothing would be changed, same challenge, same elimination, same everything, but at some point Heather and Joe would start getting along and form an alliance and work together to eliminate some of their threats. Episode 3. Duncan's obsession with Courtney still remains. He saves Gwen the same way he does in the original, but after that, Duncan asks if Courtney was watching and Gwen rants about how he prefers Courtney over her. Gwen breaks up with Duncan and Duncan joins with his team with a grumpy and half-hearted attitude. Just like in Rock and Rule, eventually his unwillingness to help his team got him eliminated. Gwen and Courtney switch teams here, and yeah. For episode 4, same thing, same challenge, same eliminated contestant, but I would skip on that villains lose then win. That was clearly filler material. In episode 5, the biggest change in this episode would have to be the reference to the challenge. The challenge is clearly inspired in Finders Creepers, not the one where Gwen and Sam were buried. Also, the moon activates the personalities of Mike completely, not Mal though. Just for this episode. I know it's just as bad as the reset button, but this is not Total Drama World Tour, so it's not a perfect season. Because the personalities held the heroes team down, the heroes lose and are forced to send Mike home. Episode 6. Heather is up early in order to find the McLean Invincibility statue while Alejandro stalks her. Unfortunately, while strolling through the woods, Lindsay finds it near the Arts and Crafts Center. Both Alejandro and Heather see this and start talking to Lindsay in order to get it. Because Heather is 100% sure Lindsay has forgotten everything about Total Drama Island, she tries to convince Lindsay that the doll is possessed, while Alejandro tries flirting. Till the rest of the episode, we don't know how this played out. The challenge goes down, and a reference to the challenge in Easter Island is made. The heroes win, and as a bonus, they get to pick one member to vote in tonight's bonfire, to which they choose Gwen. Gwen talks with Courtney and they patch things up. The voting goes down with Alejandro being the most voted, but Alejandro pulls off the immunity statue and Heather is out. At this point, Heather demands an explanation, to which Lindsay steps up from the peanut gallery and reveals that Lindsay did not fall for the flirt and willingly gave the McLean statue to Alejandro just so Heather would be eliminated, proving that she still remembers a lot of things from Total Drama Island. So Heather is eliminated. Episode 7. The things that I would change would be Lindsay's and Zoe's fears. Because Lindsay's fear is bad haircuts, she has to fight none other than Anne Maria. It would make a much better cameo. Instead of punching, Lindsay styles Anne Maria's hair and scores a point. As for Zoe, well, after watching Revenge of the Island, I didn't really see any sort of fear on Zoe except Larry. So Zoe has to fight Larry/Lori. Personally, I believe that extra point she received in the original was because the writers could not find a suitable fear for Zoe. Afterwards, Gwen has to face Courtney's fear, which is green jelly. Gwen tries to fight it off, but it was worthless. In the confessional, Gwen admits she is also now afraid of green jelly. Then, when Courtney spins the wheel, it lands on Gwen's fear, which is Courtney herself. So Chris tells Gwen and Courtney to fight. They patch their friendship up and both score a point. But the score is still 2 out of 2. So as a tiebreak, Chris orders Courtney to fight Gwen's second fear, which is being buried alive. But instead of being buried, Courtney has to fight the coffin. A wooden coffin comes up and Courtney tips it with her foot the same way she did to that robot in Area 51. The coffin breaks, the villains win, and Sierra is gone. It was hard finding a reference to this episode, but I think that the closest reference would be the episode Trains, Planes, and Hot Air Mobiles, or even Backstabbers Ahoy. In any case, the reference is never made in the original. In this episode, the teams merge, Alejandro wins the challenge, and seeing how there are so many villains around, everyone except Gwen and Lindsay charge at Zoe. Zoe is gone due to being a threat. In the 100th episode, no one is eliminated and a fundraiser is made to create an operation to restore Zeke back to life on account of a lawsuit imposed by Zeke's parents. We catch up with every character and see what they are doing, and no one is eliminated. In episode 10, for the life of me, I could never understand what is this episode trying to reference. It could not have been Basics Training. This challenge had no mud, no canoes, no Michael Jackson references, nothing. Seeing how she was alone, Lindsay tries extra hard and wins the whole thing, leaving everyone in a headlock as who they're gonna vote. Gwen, Lindsay, and Courtney team up to vote off Alejandro, and they succeed. Before the challenge at the mess hall, Courtney is drawing a detailed plan on how to get rid of everyone, claiming Lindsay to be a wild card, Joe a threat, and Gwen as second last. While being distracted by Scott's cries for attention, Joe manages to grab hold of that shard, and on the way to the challenge, Joe exposes Courtney's plan in front of everyone. And nobody wants anything to do with Courtney, putting a huge target on her back. The Sunday challenge still prevails. Courtney is first on the finish line, and despite the fact that Chris changed the rules in order to have the contestants eat their own sundaes, Courtney still wins immunity. Why?
Because she has a very strong stomach.
Because of this, the attention shifts to Courtney's biggest ally, Gwen. Scott never really liked Gwen, and Joe bullies Lindsay into voting against Gwen too. So Gwen is gone. In episode 12, a reference to the treasure hunt challenge is made. Joe is out to sabotage Courtney, and Scott fails to catch anything because of Fang. Lindsay wins the challenge, and Scott comes last and is automatically eliminated. And now Lindsay has to pick the eliminated contestant. Lindsay picks Joe due to the foul way she has been treating her, and Chris, Joe, and Courtney are surprised by this decision. Now, early on, I stated that I wouldn't mess around with the challenges. Well, I lied, because I came up with a total reform to the final challenge. Why? Well, to be honest, I don't know what they were thinking when they made this challenge. Something could have been done to make a reference to all the final challenges of the previous seasons, but no. You can argue that all the levels are referencing other seasons, like the toxic waste being a reference to season 4 and the lava being a reference to season 3's finale, and I could have forgiven this whole challenge had they mentioned that that's what they were doing. But no one ever mentioned this during the episode. So here is how I would change. After some taunting between both finalists, they come to the final challenge. Chris welcomes back the eliminated contestants, all of them, not just a few. Everyone picks a team, same old story. Now, here is where it gets tricky. The challenge is divided into 6 sections. Section A is a throwback to season 4 finale, but because the main challenge is basically a foot race and that challenge was a combat style challenge, from that I would take the trash pile they were using. Section B is a reference to Total Drama Island. They have to climb a pole and cross a pit on a plank board using chicken hacks. Section C is a trivia race like they did in Total Drama Action. Get a question right, move on. Get a question wrong, perform a challenge. And B, they have to build a replica of their rival, run and throw it down the cliff. They can complete these challenges in whatever order they feel like. Once they finish all 3, they move over to Section E, which is build a floating vehicle to cross Lake Wawanakwa and reach the finish line. Sections B, C, and D have immediate access to Section A in case they need to use anything from the trash pile to hate them. Courtney decides to face her challenges in the order that she did worst to best. So Island first, World Tour second, and Action third. Lindsay follows the same logic. Lindsay quickly completes her first 2 challenges, but struggles in Action with the trivia question. Courtney struggles in Total Drama Island and gets stung by the exact same bee that stung her in the first challenge she ever competed on. World Tour, she struggles too, but uses the trash pile to help her through, and she catches up to Lindsay by getting all the questions right in Total Drama Action. As they are crossing the lake, Chris puts a surprise marine bomb and hits one of them. The one that is hit flies into the air, and the one that got away thinks she won. But the one that got hit lands right on the finish line, making either Courtney or Lindsay the winner, depending on your criteria. I think this finale would work well because, well, out of all the characters that made a return, Courtney and Lindsay were the more injustice characters throughout the whole Total Drama history. It's an all-girl finale. Such a thing never happened before. It's a lot more interesting than hearing Zoe and Cameron moaning about Mike. If you liked Courtney's ending, just imagine the throwback one would do to the second episode of Total Drama Island. At the end of the episode, Courtney tells the camera she's going to win one day, and no one is going to stop her. And then that promise would be kept. If you like Lindsay's ending, then something could be done with Tyler. I'm partial to Courtney, sorry. And that, my friends, is how I would change Total Drama All-Stars.
Part 4. Is there any good?
In life, if you don't like something, it gets kinda hard to find positive qualities about it, even if they are clearly there. And that's the case with Total Drama All-Stars. Despite me pointing out some glaring problems with Zoe, Gwen, and Cameron, I have to admit their friendship was kinda predictable, but also just kinda nice to watch. I also like the fact that once the $1 million were out of the picture, Alejandro and Heather weren't evil anymore. And I cannot deny that All-Stars brought a lot of human traces to Scott. like insecurity, jealousy, obsession. Unlike the evil for evil character we saw in Revenge of the Island. In fact, I think this is the only genuine good thing that came out of All Stars. Scott, good job, I guess. Maybe the people that enjoy Total Drama All Stars like it because of the attention that Zoe and Mike have. Personally, I don't like those characters, and it was kind of weird that they had the spotlight this season. Because really, that's actually the only thing I can see why people like this season, nothing else. But hey, if you like this season, I envy you. For now, I am done with Total Drama All-Star, and I can't deny that after doing this video, I feel really relieved. It was like that big burp after a big meal. See, I can do Total Drama comedy. As for the future of Total Drama, well, apparently it's being cancelled. Maybe Netflix or even, I don't know, Adult Swim will renew it like they did with Samurai Jack. Hey, Samurai Jack was a very good show. And there is no denying that when they give time to the producers of Total Drama, they can bounce back. Just watch what happened with the Redonkulous Race. It was an amazing show. Where the hell is season 2? We need it! But then again, if you give them way too much space, they come up with Total Drama Rama, and we don't want that now, do we? As for Total Drama, I guess we just have to wait and see what happens.